Welcome YouTube. So I'm going to pick up where we left off last time with Path of Exile. Sort of did a slight pre-recording rundown with Twitch as I went through the process of crafting our flasks. So they'll be a little bit more effective, as well as deciding. I'd gone back to Act 5 and picked up the 2 skill points I'd left behind. Picked those up and decided which of those 2 points I wanted to assign in the passive tree. So we went here in the process to going over all this juicy life over here. And as well as the increased physical damage there. Yeah, and so now we've got a lot more utility effects going on. And really the only flask I need to monitor is using the health flask when I need health. We should be, when we get into actually going through acts, now also resist capped. And I have an idea of what we can do when we get to defeating Gadava in Act 10 to be resist capped for Act 10. So at this point, it's just killing and fighting our way through the remaining acts while trying to get the health to safely do all that, while trying to minimize dying. Don't like dying. And then, really, we're looking for ways to get more decks on the tree, as well as more spell suppression. So I have an idea of where we're going to go for, well, to be fair, turning spell suppression into dodge, which also goes hands in hand with getting more spell suppression. So let's get to going. Let's see how these utility flasks work out. Should make it very convenient going forward.
I'm not the same woman I was.
Would probably skip doing this optional quest, but I'm going to do it anyway. Because if anything, what we need is XP. And killing everything on this beach is a source of XP. Yeah, against all the squishy guys, just cycloning through them works really well. And we do have Frenzy of Onslaught, which is still... it's not as much damage as I expected it to be relative to Cyclone. I expected Cyclone to not be quite scaling as well as Frenzy for single target. But it is still technically a little bit more damage for when I've got a single target situation or when there's just one guy to punch. That's everyone on the beach dead. So onward to actually completing the act. Oops, that's the dead end. So most of the flasks is set up to be auto-triggering, so the moment they hit full, they basically go off automatically. Quicksilver is set to auto-refresh instead of auto-trigger. And then the health flask is the only one I really need to monitor and activate manually at this point. And because of the tree, the mastery tree, I went on this build, in theory, they just auto-regenerate, so even if I'm not actively fighting things, they'll every once in a while just go off to provide us preemptive defenses. And we're flying through, so there's another quest done. That's one of the optional quests. It's not super important. Probably could have skipped it if we wanted to. .46 in a 46 zone, that's kind of where we want to be. So in this case, I basically went ahead and took the Delirium Mirror because I didn't expect it to make the fight that much harder. Clearing the map here. Let's get a little bit more enemies on it, which gives us a little more XP. As well as giving us a little extra loot, so it's one of those where I didn't think it was going to necessarily slow us down very much, so I just went ahead and took it. There's the guy we gotta kill. Well, I suppose in this case it's the gal we gotta kill. Well, someone there hit me hard. Proper items. There we go. So I don't think any of that's actually particularly useful to this build, but it might be useful for other builds. I'll grab it all. And we keep running. So we're about to approach the first unavoidable boss of Act 6.
teach you the laws of war.
Just like that, we're very rapidly taking this boss down. If anything, because I haven't put Mana Leech on Frenzy of Onslaught yet. Frenzy of Onslaught is a little bit of a worrisome situation for mana. When I start very heavily using it against targets. And like that, we've taken out a boss. We'll grab the Diamond Flask. It won't be useful for this build because the build right now doesn't have any base critical strike yet. Well, if you don't have a way to multiply your critical strike, well, if you don't have any base, there's nothing to multiply, right? So that's kind of where this build is right now.
This one I'm happy to correct.
We get a small boast line from our character here about correcting nature's mistakes. The fact that I'm not seeing through the fog of war the exit to the zone probably means I am going the wrong way, so let's go the other way.
I'm not up to that just yet.
Oh, random unique. Those of you who have memorized what the uniques are probably already know what unique that is. But I don't have them memorized, so I don't immediately know what it is. Maybe it was going the right way. Because I am far too close to the entrance for the entrance to, or the exit to be this side, so it must have been the other way. Oops. There it is. Oh, grab the waypoint because I want to come back here. The answer to that is probably no, but best to be prepared for the potential futures. And yeah, this build, especially with the flask automated, is very smooth at coming through hacks at this point. Oops, well, I apparently went around in a big circle. I wish those of you who are better at memorizing the maps than I am probably foresaw quite well before I realized I was in circle. And another unique down. More to the lower prisons. So the lower prisons is a place where you find one of the challenges for the labyrinth. So if you haven't done that challenge, you need to find that challenge so that you do the second labyrinth. You only need it once per server, so I don't need to do it on this character, so I'm not going to look for it in particular. Though I am used to looking for it, so there's a small chance I might get lost and find it by accident. Just think to remember whenever you come through here. It's always a shame to get to the point where you can do the labyrinth and find you haven't done one of the labyrinth's pre-challenges. Consecrate the ground and it's regen. If I start to notice that I'm skipping enough enemies that I'm not maintaining level with the zone, which isn't the case right now. Right now I'm actually over-leveled the zone. I may stop and start to do the league content. But right now we're over-leveling the zone a little bit. So I don't feel the need to waste a little bit of time to do the league content. And again, at this point, I'm kind of taking advantage of the hollow point tank for all my damage. Because the cyclone, which is what I'm mainly using for damage against most of the enemies, is basically only 2-slotted, or 2-linked. Only 2-linked, so this build could definitely be amped to do a whole lot more damage than it's doing with fairly minor tweaks in the equipment. I hit Y instead of T. See if I can actually figure out where I'm supposed to be going. Here is the second unskippable boss, Gavron and Brutus.
My life and my work, I shall not suffer this humiliation again!
Hello, Brutus.
Die and be born! Let me beautify you!
If anything, I'm actually a little bit worried about glitching the fight by killing them too quickly. Alright, so now they merge into their final form. Go ahead and cyclone a bit to regen some mana, and then get back to punching. And there we go.
Your reliance on mindless brawn was your undoing, Chevron.
We'll check those boots. Those boots probably aren't what we want. Yeah, not what we want. And most of those weapons, obviously not what we want. If it wasn't, can't use other rings, that ring might be interesting. I suppose if anything, I should actually go back to town quickly and drop off the stuff we picked up. Just to clear out the inventory, because the inventory is a little full.
A wretch. While you be time and tide wait for no man. tidings to you. Time and tide wait for no man. Good tidings, good.
Beautiful.
Nope.
Good tidings to you. Time
Okay.
and tide wait for no man.
And back to running through the act we go, now that we've got an empty inventory. Well, emptier inventory. Prisoner's Gate. So there is an optional boss in here that we are going to go looking for. Because the optional boss is a mix of fizz and fire damage, you may want to skip the optional boss if you are not fire resistant capped. That's not where we want to go. That's where we go to continue the act and not do the optional. We don't want to talk to Nessa. There's the optional boss. Okay, you might want to skip or come back to this boss later if you're not fire resist capped at this point in Act 6. One recommendation is just to try to always remain, after you get capped, try to always remain capped. It's probably fine if you're not capped at this point, but then that will just make this boss harder than it needs to be to fight. And you can always come back and do it later. So killing this boss does give you a passive point, so that's one reason to come back and do it. Through the ads. And there goes the boss. Yeah, nothing here I actually want. May change to his blessing. So we'll wait until Sin lands to say hello. What's that blessing? Yeah, lesser direction of ignites on me is probably a good idea. Into the Western Forest. Other than the Easter egg, I think in a couple locations, no bosses in this area, so we're just basically going to zoom through, spinning as we run into enemies along the road. Oops, that's not the word. Level 48 zone. We are level 48. So there's, again, no necessity to slow down and kill everything. I say that as I slow down and kill everything. Yeah, for most of the enemies in here, we just sort of spin through, kill the majority of them. Those I should probably not necessarily skip the uniques, because uniques will have more XP to them. And a better chance of actually dropping loot worth picking up. This build has absolutely no uses for gloves. So, saw a glove, went like, yep, nope, we don't need that. Base breaker build doesn't need gloves. My minion build has a unique set of gloves it's using for various reasons. So none of my builds right now use gloves. So if I see gloves, they're kind of not interesting. Unless they're uniques, in which case I have inventory space, or I'll have bank space for one of every unique, because I have unique yet. So this zone has 2 exits. One goes towards the optional boss. One of the optional bosses, and the other one goes towards the end of the zone. We're going to go do the optional boss. The Einhar monsters are just incredibly tanky most of the time, so probably not worth taking the effort to kill. And that one's making everything near it explode. The corpses near it explode, which is doubly not fun. Especially in this zone with lots of corpses. Sorry for the extended mic mute there. I got caught in the proverbial continual need to sneeze with no sneeze. So until I cleared the sneeze, it was a bad idea to continue chatting. Yeah, one thing the build does not quite have a lot of right now is Chaos Resist. I suppose I haven't grabbed all, we could have 2 more health nodes on us too, so we could have a lot more health too, which would help with resisting poison. One more health. Well, actually, I suppose, yeah, 2 more, because I could have gone and picked up the health node from killing the other boss as well.
You are a mockery of nature, Rislatha.
We already got health flask regen, so that's not super useful for our build. And like that, we're back on track for running through Act 5. We are level 49 and level 8 zone. I feel like something's screwed up the orientation of this map. Too wide to dash across. There's the door. Weirdly, this is a zone that has very frequently killed me. Not 100% sure why. There is a unique, well, a unique encounter in this map that tends to be, I think, what gets me. It just surprises me in its viciousness when you get there. That combo with the fact that there's lots of little rubbly guys that shoot things at you that come out of all the guys you've killed makes it very easy to underestimate exactly how many guys you're fighting based on the fact that you're killing most of them and be like, well, why does it seem like the enemy count is not shrinking? Because those rubbly guys do still hit like a truck. Granted, they're hitting it like a truck because I think they're doing chaos damage. Had a chaos poison damage effect.
The Brand King. His time has almost come. Then
So if I got multiple uniques, I should probably kill them for their XP. Well, there's one, I think, down. Yeah, this has been very smooth going through Act 6. I do foresee getting the build to sort of hit its peak potential, it being, if I were to do it via trading, fairly expensive, because again, deck stacking gear, especially good deck stacking gear, is not, from what I heard, not the cheapest. Especially when you're trying to combine it with other stats. So maybe just getting decks by itself isn't that hard, but getting really good decks and the resistance you need and the health you need and all the other stuff isn't quite as convenient as it would otherwise maybe seem to be. The tricorn, if I got good roll, would be good. Probably didn't get a good roll though. So if you have any, I suppose this is a good time as any, because I'm otherwise hitting pretty quietly as our build is murdering its way through the maps, or murdering its way through the acts. If you have any questions about how the build works, or about how the build has been basically built, feel free to leave those in a comment, either in the Twitch comments if you're watching it live on Twitch, or in the YouTube comments. I have been saving on POB the state of the build at the end of each act, so when we actually get to the end of the build, I'll go ahead and do sort of a build retrospective to show you where the build was at every act, at least as far as POB is concerned. And of course, that saving at the end of every act is one of the reasons why I have actually been sort of hard stopping at the end of most acts, is because I need to take a moment to save the build. Save the build. This is maybe one of those sort of things the build isn't very good at, which is sort of escorting things, because as you can see, the build doesn't really have great range. So you got to stay within a very small circle. Enemies that have range can kind of just take advantage of that. The build is a little bit more mobile than the pacemaker build because it just has higher attack speed. And of course Cyclone allows you to move while attacking, so that's nice in its own way. Whoops. Accidentally hit the button to turn off purity elements. So before we go do the brain thing, I am going to remember this time to actually go get my 2 skill points from the
No
act,
single being should have the power
unlike I
to
didn't do on the last act. And maybe that will be the difference between dying against the act boss and not dying against the act boss. I suspect in this case it won't be. I find, at least for potential of accidentally getting booped with a lethal force,
Farewell.
because the act boss does a lot more electrical damage than physical damage, it's a little bit less likely just to kill you. Maybe. I might be able to make that work between maps. Or between acts as a replacement for Goldroom here. Because Goldroom's got 35 all resist, but otherwise it's pretty subpar stats. This one's got 26, 33. Could either craft on a resist. Yeah, I'd probably craft on the resist. Craft on the resist. And then I can hit it like a regal or something with it. Maybe get something useful out of it. And then that's enough.
Good tidings to you. Time and tide.
So now we got 4 skill points to award. Now I take it all his hit points, which is probably way more hit points than we need for the moment, but always better to have hit points than to not have them when you need them. And the alternative, I suppose, would be taking traveling nodes towards other things, which the traveling nodes would probably be, well, most of the traveling nodes we're grabbing are basically damage anyway, so maybe I'm trading hit points for damage right now. I could have more damage when I've decided I've got enough damage for the moment and I want more hit points. Preemptively grabbing the hit points for later acts. So this is Act 6. We normally want 18,000 for facing the boss. We've got 21,000, or 2,100. We normally want 1,800, I've got 2,100. Which means in practice I've got enough for the act boss for the next act. So I suppose tomorrow when I do stream the next act, we'll be flying through that act. As I go mainly for spell suppression and damage in the next act. We are 51 in a 50 area, so if anything I'm actually killing too much stuff. I need to spend less time killing and more time running to the objective. This is always a map I inevitably get lost on. In my desire to run through it quickly, it always ends up as a blur in my mind. Oh, no, it gets doubly bad when you run a Val side area, changing the entire geometry of the map.
I'm not up to that just yet.
No. So yeah, not because of getting a little bit too sidetracked, not necessarily the fastest run for Act 6 for me, but not necessarily a particularly slow act either. Maybe I shouldn't be commenting about how long it's taking me until I actually find the exit to the zone. Where are you, Brine King? It's time to inform you that you're no longer king.
So courageous.
There you are.
Such a fine example of womanhood. I simply knew you wouldn't disappoint me. Or my husband. You see, His Majesty could never be satiated on his wedding day by one bride alone. Thank you, my new sister. I shall always treasure your company.
Okay, first phase down. Sort of interlude phase where we're just gonna dodge things. Which, for the build at this point, really, oh, I was about to say, it shouldn't take a lot of damage from it, then apparently take a face load of it. So when he's in this, like, got that sort of circle of war around him, he does hurt you on hitting him. So I did have to use health pots there, but the build has regenerating health pots, so that's not a problem. Okay, second phase done. Third phase done. And final phase done. Boss is down. And since the start of the YouTube recording, it's been about 51 minutes. And before that, I had about a 10-minute pre-video on that I showed to Twitch of me sort of doing the changes since the last video. So all in all, since the last video, it's only taken about an hour. Prep time.
Nissa, I'm sorry. I was too late.
And this is pretty much where this act and the recording is going to end. So if you've enjoyed it, try to chime in next time. This will continue our run doing the Hollow Palm technique while making a build for the Hollow Palm technique will continue. We're now ready to go into Act 7, and I see no reason that Act 7 won't be about as quick as Act 6 was. If anything, it might even be a little bit quicker. So catch you next time, and I hope you're enjoying it, and when it's all said and done, I will do a retrospective video of how well the build leveled, going through what I did leveling in various parts, and probably do an after action report of what you might want to do differently, or what I might want to do differently or do it again, as well as comment on how well the build is filling at maps at that point. So until next time, I hope you have a good time.